Welcome, everyone. This is a new paradigm. That's what we're going to be talking about today, and thank you for being here. You know, no one likes change except a wet baby, right? But what if we could help clients accept change more easily? Imagine how much happier they'd be. What if we could have a sense of internal support that's available 24/7? Wouldn't that make sense? It's been almost 9 months since the lockdown started. So what the world is experiencing right now is very much like having a baby. There's upheaval in every area of life. The old order is breaking down to make room for change. And again, not everyone likes change. I've heard so many people say they just want to get back to normal. Well, unfortunately, there's no going back. This is normal. So in order to prepare ourselves for this new world, we need to be able to adapt to the changes that are coming, because they are coming in every part of life. It reminds me, years ago when my son was about 11, we moved to a home in a new school district. Oh my goodness, this was the worst thing we'd ever done to him. The new school did not have a resource budget, and more importantly, he had a lot of trouble with change. He missed his friends, he missed his resource teacher, he missed being in a familiar place. It's bad enough that we changed houses. Now we are expecting him to change schools. And it did not go well, but more about that later. In the more traditional parts therapy approach, first we're going to invite in the part that's causing the problem, right? The part that's stuck. Let's say, for example, the part that keeps that client smoking. And we're going to negotiate with that part and find new resources, find a new job, and that's all good. But I've had so many clients over the years come in and say, I've talked about my past and the things that aren't working to death. I don't want to talk about it. And so I would think, well, what if we start with what is working? What if we create a cheerleader effect inside that client? And they're all over that. That just sounds great. So that's what we're going to do today. What if we have this team inside of them with all of these amazing qualities, and this team is right there ready to be of service? I mean, who doesn't want that? So we're going to explore a process that I would use with a client that's coming in that doesn't like change, that is freaking out about what's happening in the world. This is one of the ways that I might approach it with them. Now, with a new client, I'm still going to do my full interview. And for me, that's 30 to 35 minutes. I ask a lot of questions. But with a returning client, I might start by asking, when you're no longer feeling stuck, unable to make a decision, and fearful about the future, when you're comfortable with some of these new changes, what will you be doing? I'll explore that with them. And in doing that, ask them what qualities will they have? What will help them make this shift? And how will they know they have it? I write down every single word they give me, because every word is going to be useful in feeding back to them throughout the process and after the process. And here's the thing, when they start mentioning the qualities that they'll have in order to be able to make this change, they have them inside of themselves, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to recognize them. That's just how it works. So by asking them what qualities they would need to have and working from that perspective, that primes the pump, we might say, for inviting in the parts that can give them more of what they want. So there are 9 steps to this process. I'm going to go over all 9. And then we'll explore each one individually. So steps 1 through 9. Step 1, we've done our interview. So for the actual process, now we're going to do an induction. You could use your favorite induction or the one I'm going to give you. That's up to you. Step 2, I ask my clients more and more now to enter a heart sanctuary. So that would be step 2. Step 3 is imagine a circle. I wonder what that's for. Step 4, we'll invite in the supportive parts. With step 5, I'm going to ask them to describe the parts. Step 6, then once we've gone through all of our work with the parts that are there to be supportive, then we're going to invite in the part that's struggling. Hopefully just one. We don't want to have so many parts that are struggling that they outnumber the parts that are there to be supportive. And those parts, step 7, they're going to surround that stuck part. In step 8, we future pace. They really need to rehearse this new behavior. Grounded in their body, grounded in their experience. And then, of course, step 9, we bring them back to full awareness. I've done this process with a client recently. It was profoundly effective for her, profoundly effective. And it feels so good to have this sense of support that's here internally 24/7. Think about it for a moment. Going to bed with this feeling of support, waking up feeling yourself cared for and supported. Going through every bit of your day, feeling this amazing support. I want that, don't you? All right, so the red gold earth energy induction. And again, as I said, you could use your favorite induction, you can use your client's favorite induction. I just like once in a while to mix it up. And I like this one because it's very grounding. It's also especially useful with a returning client. I think we all have clients who come in and say, you know, I don't need that induction that you usually use. I don't need to take a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. So they're capable of going into hypnosis quickly. So rather than drag it out, and for clients that need to be grounded, this is a really useful way to start. So this induction, here's how it goes. You place your feet flat on the floor, and I ask them to imagine a comfortable wave of red gold earth energy coming up through the soles of the feet. Normally, if I do progressive relaxation, I'm going top of the head down. But I think it helps with the grounding, well, I know it does, to have this earth energy come up through their feet. And then work your way up the legs, the knees, the thighs, all the way up through the body. You can pace through the body, watch as they're relaxing. The only downside to this direction in my mind is once the head and shoulders are relaxed, which is where most people carry their stress, then I think everything else relaxes pretty quickly. But we want them connected, their feet connected to the earth. So then the next step in the induction, I ask them to imagine waves of silver blue energy coming down through the crown chakra, elevating their vibration, quieting their mind, softening the outside world. And then keep them focused on their breathing, because that breath is going to turn their attention inward. It's going to calm and relax them. Then I ask them to send a wave of relaxation from the top of the head all the way down to the toes as they let in more of this calming energy. And then you can add in your favorite deepener, and they might be toast at this point, but if they're not, definitely we want them in a receptive enough state to do the parts work and have it truly effective. And that means getting out of their own way consciously. So it could be any deepener. I have some favorites. 10 down to 1 always seems effective, but I also have Pebble in the Pond, which is really nice. Just have them drop a pebble into the pond, and the pebble sinks below the surface of the water. It comes to rest on a water plant. It comes off the water plant, sinks down deeper. They're not the pebble, or are they? See? And it takes them all the way down, coming to rest, safe and secure in the silt at the bottom of the pond. That's my favorite deepener. The only downside to that one is I can drop into hypnosis with that alone, so I have to remember this is not my turn to go into hypnosis. So all right, we have the red gold energy induction, or your favorite one. Now we're up to entering the heart sanctuary. And this could be the deepener as well. Again, depends on your client. I can't tell you how your clients are going to respond. Entering a heart sanctuary, I have found to be truly effective. Effective is not the word I want. Meaningful. Let's use the word meaningful. It is the most safe and secure place I've found for myself or for clients. So I ask them to find that opening so they can step inside their own heart and then explore their heart. Explore it. Give them some time. I hope you're not, I'm sure you're not ever rushing clients through, but give them time. And then I tell them as they're exploring their heart sanctuary, everything that they experience there takes them deeper. And then, so now they're in their heart sanctuary. You've induced hypnosis. They've entered their heart sanctuary. Step 3, imagine a circle. And there's no need, if you're new to hypnotherapy, honestly, there's really no need to bridge from, well, wait a minute, they were just in their heart. You're not talking to their conscious mind. Remember, you're speaking to their subconscious mind. So if you say, now imagine a circle, perhaps that circle is out in nature. They're imagining a circle. They're not saying, well, wait a minute, I'm in my heart. See? So the circle, more often than not, I'm going to say the circle is going to be out in nature because nature is calming. I would say 90% of my clients, when I ask them where they are, if I've taken them into a sanctuary that could be indoors or outdoors, and I say, where are you? Indoors or outdoors? They're outdoors. So being out in nature is always going to be calming. So before stepping into the circle, here's what we want to do first. We want to cut any threads to their past, to the old world paradigm, to the way things have been, to life as they've known it, anything negative that is hanging on to that circle, anything that's holding them back, any threads or cords that are resisting a new way. And they'll know because they'll see them or they'll feel them. So just take them through that process. They can, and you can, this is a two-way communication. So they're telling you where they see cords. Yes, I see a cord over here and over there, and some of them are thick and some are thin. At this point, it's not like a cutting cords process. We don't care what they're attached to. We're just going to let it go. Now, having said that, some of your clients have a need to know what's at the other end of the cord before they let it go. And I always play follow the leader. So if your client says, oh, wait, I can see at the other end of the cord, that's my childhood, or that's my dad, or that's whatever it is, and I can't just cut it, that's fine. They can have a Gestalt dialogue. They can speak their truth. They can say what they're feeling, whatever they need to do, especially with the thicker cords, and then cut the cord. So they go around the circle and they release each and every cord. And give them time to do it and be thorough. Be thorough because this is important. This is part of their process of letting go of the old so that they can be ready and supported in what's new. All right. Now, they've cut all the cords. Here's the thing. There may be some hidden cords. So once they've indicated to you that they have cut each and every cord, tell them you have a magic light, black light, whatever kind of light comes to mind. And in a moment, you'll shine that cord or that light on any remaining cords, any hidden cords, cords that would like to stay out of sight and out of mind, but will still hold them back. We want them to be free to move forward. So shine that magic light. Maybe they find nothing. That's fine. But maybe there are still a couple of little threads going to things that if we didn't clear it out, still going to be tugging at them. Come on back, come on back. Look at it this way. Hang on to the past. We don't want any of that. So they have all the tools and resources for all of these cords. Give them the time, give them the support. If they need it, walk them through the main hidden cords and let them go. Once they've cleared out all those cords, they'll let you know. And when it's clear, then and only then do I ask them to step inside the circle. And as they're there, stepping inside this circle, it should feel really good. A new energy, a higher vibration, if you will. So give them some time when they've stepped into this circle to just be. Take it in. Experience what's new and different. What looks different? What feels different? How does their body feel in this cleared out environment? Have their thoughts changed? How about their emotions? So we've had the induction. They've entered their heart sanctuary. They've imagined their circle. Now we're ready to invite in their supportive parts. In your handout, you're going to find a list. And I do this not because you necessarily need a list, because you have your client and your client has their own internal list. But sometimes, again, if we're going to prime the pump, you might look at this list and if you're using your intuition, and I know you do, you can look at this list and say, oh, based on our pre-talk, I think the parts that could come in now, perhaps they have a part that's resilient, that's powerful, that's kind, a part that's appreciative, consistent. So I might look at the list of qualities if I have no other resource for them from the client, and I might just mention a few. But back in the interview, remember when we did the interview and we asked the qualities that are already inside, what qualities will they have? This is where you need them. So suggest to them that they have parts representing those qualities and invite 3, maybe 4 of those parts to step in. We're not looking for a crowd because we're going to interact with each one of these parts. So invite a part to step forward. Now, I'm going to back up for a minute. If your client has never done parts therapy, of course you do need to do a pre-talk about parts before you start. Letting them know it's normal, it's natural. I've had clients who, had one client, we did probably 4 out of her 5 sessions were parts therapy. And at one point she said, how many parts do I have? Well, basically, how many wounded parts do I have? I said, well, I remember saying to her, you have as many as you have. Changed her life. The parts therapy work we did changed her life. She became really her authentic self. So do the pre-talk, give them a nice pre-talk about what to expect from parts before you start. That's part of that thorough interview that you're going to do. So we have a part stepping forward. It might look like the client. It might be a shape. It might be a color. They might feel it. They might hear it. There's no right or wrong way for parts to show up. So give yourself and the client time to find out about the part. What name or title would you like to be called? What qualities do you have? Now here's where I vary. Traditional parts therapy, I have specific questions that I ask. And in this way of doing it, more of a parts party approach. Thank the part for coming, absolutely. I do want to find out their name or title. I want to find out what qualities do you bring. Are you being listened to? Are you being put to good use? Are your efforts effective? And if not, what would make it effective? Is the client listening to you when you offer support? They can dialogue about that. So the client and this supportive part can have a conversation. You're the facilitator, remember, you're not the one coming up with the information. So have them dialogue back and forth. Here's what I have to offer you, but I don't feel like you're listening. And I need you to listen because I can help you more if you pay attention. And then the client responds however they respond, and then it's back and forth until they come to some agreement. I promise I will listen to you more. I'll get silent 5 minutes every morning and I'll listen and I'll be aware of your presence and I will appreciate your presence because we're going to be a team and that means we will be working together. So when that part has finished the negotiation, I invite in a second part that also has powerful qualities to offer. And we go through that process again. First part's still there. They haven't gone anywhere. Second part has other qualities to provide. So we're going to do the same thing. What name or title would you like to be called? What qualities do you provide for the client? Are you being appreciated? Are you being listened to? Is the help that you're providing being acted on? And if not, have a conversation. The client appreciates the part expresses to the client how the needs could be more fully met. Back and forth. And let that dialogue come to a natural conclusion as you did with the first one. Ask that part to stay there. Thank you for coming. We really need you. If you'll wait, we're going to invite in at least one more part, maybe two. And this depends partly on the client, how many parts we invite in. It might depend on the amount of time you have. I have clients who process parts like that. Boom, boom, boom. They're done. They just get to work and it's done in no time. And I have other clients, there's so much lag time between the response between the two that I feel the need to intervene because I have to wonder, did they wander off in their mind? Did they drift off and are they no longer in that process? But they just process slowly. And so we want to honor that and give them time to take their time with the process so they can get their needs met, get what they need out of it. So with this third part, thank it for coming. What's your name or title? What quality or quality? Well, one, what quality do you represent? Maybe this part is the part that's capable. And how do you use that, being capable? How do you provide help for my client with that? And is it appreciated? Is it noticed? What do you want the client to do more for you? And is there something you can provide more fully for the client? And if so, what needs to happen in order for that quality that you're bringing to be fully acknowledged and used in their daily life? So that's that third negotiation. They come to a conclusion. They're staying right there. Now we have 3 parts. There might be a 4th part. Here's what I would do with that 4th part. One of 2 things. I might invite in higher self. Every client I've ever had, if I ask, is the concept of a higher self part of your belief system? They say, yes, it is. It's the best and brightest part of me, one client said to me years ago. All right, so we could invite in higher self, maybe as a team leader, or we could say, is there another part that's clamoring for attention, that really wants to be part of this, that's in the background saying, me, pick me. I have confidence. I want to come in. I'm really important to this process. I need to be there because I'm going to wrap all of this up. So let that part come in. If it's excited and needs to come in and it makes your session run long, then your session needs to run long. right? Let that part that's so excited to come and join this team, let them come in. Do your research. What name or title would they like to be called? What are they bringing to this team? Because you're building a really powerful team for your client. Have that negotiation back and forth. How do they get their appreciation? What kind of acknowledgement do they want or need? How can they work with the client to really provide a service that maybe has been missing? It's been not missing, it's been there, but it's been in the background. How do we bring it forward? That's what we're looking for. How do we bring it forward so that these tools and resources, these qualities are here in front, that I can use them in any moment, in any day. They're not so deeply entrenched that I think I feel it, but now it's gone. No, we want a team that's front and present. Here we are. How can we help? So now you have, let's say you have 4 parts that bring in responsibility, confidence, comfortable with change, resiliency. I like to have them join hands, give them a moment to converse with one another, anything they would like to express to their counterparts on this team. Higher self can be helpful, or there can be a team leader. And that this part that steps forward to be team leader just keeps everything in line. So that can be very helpful, I think, to have a team leader. So really what we've done here, we've described the parts. This was step 5, but I've rather blended it in, I see, with step 4. So just to go back a minute, we've done, let's see, we've done the induction, entered the heart sanctuary, we've imagined that circle, we've invited in the supportive parts, we've described and interacted with the supportive parts. We have formed a team. And this team, you might even give the team a little bit of time, maybe even in the silence with the client. I like to give clients, when I tell them I'm going to give them all the time they need in the next clock 1 minute to pick a team leader and to really become that cohesive unit. And they can nod their head when that's done. I'm going to set the timer on my phone for 1 minute. And then I just stop talking. I've learned that the less I talk with a client, the better it is for them. So give them that silence. Let this team mesh with one another, become this cohesive unit. And the client will nod somewhere around that minute mark. Maybe they need a tiny bit longer. Maybe they are done in 30 seconds. Okay? Then I'm going to ask the client to step into the middle of the team, or maybe even to the strongest part of their team. How do they feel? Where do they feel it? Stand up inside and acknowledge that you are part of this extremely strong, cohesive, supportive team. And let that blend together and integrate in whatever way works. This is another time when it can be good to just say, I'm going to give you all the time you need in the next clock 1 minute for the client now to integrate fully and completely with their team. And they can nod their head when it feels complete. Stop talking. Give them that 1 minute on the clock in the silence. If they haven't nodded at the end of a minute, I'll just say, how are you doing with that? Because again, anything longer than a minute, I find clients wander off and they think, oh, wait, where did I go? So a minute's a long time when you're in hypnosis and have no concept of time and no one's talking. So a minute is plenty. So when they've done that and they feel fully integrated with their team and they're acting as one unit, that's really the key. You don't want them having to call up these parts when they need them. So let's go back over our outline. We've induced hypnosis, entered the heart sanctuary, imagined a circle. We've invited in the supportive parts. We've described the parts. We found out their qualities. That's the longest part of this whole thing, I think. Now, step number 6, now we can invite in the part that's struggling. The part that doesn't like change. The part that, oh, if things would just go back to the way they were. The part that can't make a decision that leads to taking this next step in life that helps them make the change they know they want to make or need to make. And think about it. You have this loving, supportive team integrated within the client, ready to welcome the part that's stuck. I mean, just talking about it makes me feel warm and I just feel good. Just the thought of having a team like that bolsters me. I feel more powerful, more confident, stronger. I want to sit up a little straighter. I feel a difference even talking about it. So think how your client's going to feel having this experience. So when this part steps in, we're inviting in the part that's struggling. That's step 6. Induction, heart sanctuary, imagine a circle, invite in your supportive parts, describe your parts, invite in the part that's struggling. 7. Well, let's see. You know what? Let's go back to 6 for a moment. Because find that name or title. Tell me what would help you with the struggles. We have support right here ready for you. We welcome you. We're here to help. You don't have to do this alone anymore. You're not alone. You've never been alone. You have never been alone. And step 7, now it's time to surround this part that's struggling, that's wounded, that's stuck. Surround it with this team of support. They can imagine an actual circle of parts with the client in the center. Maybe it is just the client because it's so fully integrated. But just imagine wrapping the part that's struggling in this comfort, in this kindness, in this love. It's an incredible feeling. Find out what this part needs to feel okay. Maybe it's with making a decision, because a decision is the first part of making change. You have to decide that you're going to change. Mention the qualities that are available to this negative part. You have them in your notes. It's all the qualities that were represented when these parts step forward. You wrote them down, right? So you have them. And then I would ask, is there any other quality that the part still needs? I think you'll find, if you've been thorough, they're good. But you can also cover all your bases by simply saying, as the days unfold, with every breath that you take, if there are other qualities that are required for your health and well-being, they are drawn to you automatically, and they surround you with the exact support that you need in that moment. It happens while you sleep. It happens while you work and move throughout your day. They're always available. So we've done the induction, entered the heart sanctuary, imagined the circle, say it with me. We've invited in the supportive parts. We've described the parts. We've learned about them in great detail. We've negotiated with them. We've invited in the part that's struggling. We've surrounded the part that's stuck. Now, we want to ground it. We do that with future pacing. Any of you who've studied NLP know exactly what I'm talking about. Future pacing, I'll take them out 2 weeks into the future. Count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, you're right there, 2 weeks into your future. What are you doing now? What qualities do you have? How do you know you have it? Where do you feel it in your body? What's different in your interactions with others? What's changed in your relationship with yourself? Stand up inside this new version of you. And I do that same thing, 2 weeks, 2 months, maybe 3 months. I might go out as far as 6 months. And each time, same questions. When I'm out as far as, a lot of my clients will have trouble with 6 months out, so I might just go out 3. But you'll be following your client's lead, so you'll know how far out to go. But then when let's say they're out at that 3-month mark, and they have these qualities and they're really embodied, and it's changing their relationship with every aspect of their lives. This is the point where it's time for them to learn. They don't have to wait 3 months, do they? They can take this that they've learned, that they've embodied, that they've experienced, and they can bring it back into this moment. But before you do that, why not give them that all the time they need in the next clock 1 minute to experience life in all those different time frames? 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. Give them the time to feel it, to see themselves that way, to hear interactions with their friends and family, to get that feedback. Touch all the senses. Maybe there are smells associated, scents, or taste even associated with these future scenes that are positive and supportive. So as this integration is deepened, and they've gone through the process, and now they're at that 3-month mark, let them live it. And then bring them back through the 2-month mark. See how you have it now at 2 months. Coming back to 4 weeks. Look, you've embodied this at 4 weeks. Time's an illusion. There's no time. Bring it back to 2 weeks. You've embodied it at 2 weeks, haven't you? And now you can bring it back into this present moment. And each time, if you want, if you feel it's important, give them all the time they need in the next clock 1 minute to breathe it, to live it, to have that full experience. Coming back into this moment. And again, now that they've embodied it, what's different? Well, my favorite question, I've asked this question for years. That's the point at which I like to ask, and I may have asked it sooner, but I'm definitely going to ask it now. Now that you've embodied these qualities, now that you have this team of support, that you have shifted internally and integrated with these beautiful new qualities of inner support, what's possible now that hasn't been possible before? And write down every word that they say, because I'll tell you what, when I get to that question, clients come up with the most amazing words, things I never would have thought to say to them. I write down every single one. This is possible, and that and the other, and they go on, and I write them all down. Now I feed them all back. Let them drop even deeper. This is the ego strengthening part that comes from in my work with pretty much at the end of every session. I want to do some ego strengthening. If we're really short on time, and sometimes, let's face it, clients come in and they say, I have to be out of here right on time because I have this next thing to rush off to. All right, then those ego strengthening suggestions that they have given you, filter them into the re-alert. So as you're bringing them back, you're mentioning all of those qualities interspersed with the numbers. And it will be profound. I had a lesson years ago with a client. She was an artist. And that day she had brought in a book of her art. And on each page, across from each page with the art, she had written what this piece of art meant to her, why she had created it, what was going on in her life at the time that led to this beautiful piece of artwork. And so at the end of her session, when I was wanting to do some ego strengthening, I picked up that book and I started flipping through the pages and reading different passages to her. She had tears streaming down her face. She came out of hypnosis and she said it was the most profound thing she'd experienced. So meaningful for her. So don't ever discount how powerful their own words are. They're way more powerful than the words we come up with. And having said that, I will also say, I certainly use my intuition. I use my intuition, absolutely, to say things to clients that might not come up otherwise. Because sometimes there's just a thought that won't go away in my head. All right, so now we're going to do the re-alert. And because this is a deep session, I would count up from 1 to 10. As I said, you can intersperse all of those. Intersperse everything with the qualities that they've discussed. And find out. I think you're going to see this is a profound way of helping people through these crazy, chaotic times. And I want to finish that. Remember that story I started with you earlier with my son? Because Ryan didn't deal with change, I sent him back to his counselor. And at the counselor's advice, he went back to his old school while he was going to do the counseling to help him deal with change. But my son found the inner resources with all of that to get himself there on his own, riding his bike in all kinds of weather. And I was in a climate that was much rainier than I am now at the time. He did whatever it took so that he could attend school and be with his friends. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate your kind attention. If you're interested in any of my CE courses, they are listed on hypnosis-continuing-education.com or my other website, which is transtime.com. I have a lot of different classes that I teach. I would love to see some of you join me in those classes as well. Have a wonderful rest of your virtual conference. And again, thanks for being here.